Ambassador Zexathara clicked his mandibles in what his species considered polite amusement as he reviewed the human's application to join the Galactic Defense Coalition. The bipedal mammals from the third planet of an unremarkable yellow star had somehow managed to achieve faster-than-light travel, but their technology remained laughably primitive by galactic standards. "Look at this," he transmitted to his aide, Veltar, through their neural link. "They still use chemical propulsion for most of their space vessels. Chemical, like some Stone Age civilization that just discovered fire." Veltar's antennae twitched with shared amusement. "Their weapons are equally crude, Ambassador. Kinetic projectiles, explosive warheads, directed energy that barely qualifies as coherent. The Hegemony Scout reports indicate they've only recently developed plasma containment systems." The Hegemony had been watching humanity for decades, ever since the primates had stumbled into FTL technology through what could only be described as reckless experimentation. Most species took millennia to develop safe, stable warp drives. Humans had achieved it in less than 50 years after splitting the atom, and their first successful test had nearly torn a hole in space-time itself. "Typical mammalian impulsiveness," Zexathara mused. "No patience for proper scientific methodology." The Coalition had strict standards for membership. Advanced energy manipulation, quantum field generators, gravitational control systems, and most importantly, the wisdom to use such power responsibly. Humanity possessed none of these qualifications. Their application would be rejected naturally, but diplomatic protocol required a formal review. 3 months later, everything changed. The Devourer swarm had returned. The ancient enemy of all organic life had awakened from their 1,000-year slumber in the void between galaxies. Their biomechanical ships poured through dimensional rifts, consuming entire star systems and converting the matter into more of their kind. World after world fell to their relentless advance. The Coalition's most advanced fleets engaged the swarm at the Kepler defensive line. Gravitational cannons that could collapse stars into black holes, quantum disruptors that unraveled matter at the subatomic level, and reality-warping shields that bent space itself. For 3 days, the Coalition held the line. Then the Devourers adapted. They always adapted. The quantum disruptors became useless as the swarm developed quantum-resistant hulls. The gravitational weapons were absorbed and redirected back at Coalition forces. Reality itself seemed to bend to the swarm's will as they consumed the very fabric of space-time. The retreat was absolute. Entire fleets were consumed in minutes. The Coalition's most advanced civilizations, species that had mastered the fundamental forces of the universe, fled in terror before an enemy that turned their own sophistication against them. That's when Captain Sarah Chen made her transmission. "Coalition Command, this is Captain Chen of the human vessel Indomitable. We're reading massive Devourer formations heading for the Proxima colonies. Request permission to engage." Zexathara stared at the communication in disbelief. The humans wanted to fight. Their primitive vessels wouldn't last 30 seconds against technology that had just defeated the Coalition's finest. "Negative, Captain Chen," he transmitted back. "Your ships lack the necessary defensive capabilities. Fall back to the evacuation corridor." "With respect, Ambassador," came the reply. "We didn't ask if we could win. We asked for permission to engage." Before anyone could respond, the human fleet was already moving. Zexathara watched the tactical display with morbid fascination. 12 human vessels, their hulls barely holding together by galactic standards. accelerating directly toward a devourer formation that had just consumed 3 coalition dreadnoughts. It would be a massacre, but at least it would be brief. Then something impossible happened. The humans weren't firing their weapons. Instead, they were launching their cargo holds. Hundreds of metallic objects tumbled through space toward the swarm. Asteroids, Zexthera realized, crude chunks of rock and metal that the humans had somehow loaded onto their ships. "What are they doing?" Veltar asked. The answer came 60 seconds later. The asteroids began to accelerate. Not under their own power. They were still just rocks. But the humans had done something to them. Each asteroid was wrapped in a crude metal shell fitted with chemical thrusters that barely qualified as propulsion systems. They weren't advanced. They weren't elegant. They were just rocks with engines strapped to them. But they were fast. The Devourer's adaptive defenses were designed to counter sophisticated energy weapons and exotic matter constructs. They had evolved to absorb and redirect the most advanced technologies in the galaxy. But these weren't advanced technologies. These were just rocks moving very, very fast. The first asteroid punched through a Devourer bioship's hull like a bullet through tissue paper. The second one triggered a chain reaction that tore apart an entire formation. The third one hit with such force that it created a temporary gravitational anomaly. "Impossible," Zexthera whispered. "The kinetic energy required would need chemical explosives." Captain Chen's voice cut through his calculations. "Lots and lots of chemical explosives. We hollowed out each asteroid and packed it with every conventional warhead we could manufacture. Then we wrapped the whole thing in a shell designed to survive atmospheric entry and added just enough thrust to get it moving in the right direction." The tactical display showed the results. In less than 10 minutes, 12 primitive human vessels had accomplished what the Coalition's most advanced fleets couldn't do in 3 days. They had stopped a Devourer advance using nothing more than rocks, explosives, and what could only be described as weaponized recklessness. "The beauty of it," Chen continued, "is that there's nothing for them to adapt to. No exotic particles to absorb, no quantum fields to redirect, no advanced technology to turn against us. Just simple physics. Mass times acceleration equals dead aliens." Zexthera watched as more human fleets arrived, their cargo holds filled with asteroids converted into kinetic kill vehicles. The Devourers, for the first time in recorded history, began to retreat. Their adaptive biology couldn't evolve fast enough to counter an attack that was fundamentally too simple to adapt to. "Sometimes," Captain Chen's voice came through the comm one final time, "the best solution isn't the most advanced one. Sometimes you just need to throw rocks really, really hard." The Coalition approved humanity's membership application the next day, with unanimous consent.